When Travis Kelce saw the message Joe Alwyn wrote to Taylor Swift, he exclaimed, "Is this guy insane?" Travis was completely enraged at the content. November 15th, 2023, at 8:42 p.m. After hectic weeks, Travis, Kelce, and Taylor Swift were enjoying one of their favorite peaceful evenings at home in Kansas City. Taylor nestled up next to Travis in one of his old Chiefs sweaters and her favorite pair of fuzzy socks, as he lay out on their enormous sectional couch, still wearing his practice gear from earlier that day. They had opened a bottle of wine, placed an order for pizza from their favorite restaurant, and were halfway through a romantic comedy that Travis was secretly enjoying but pretending to detest. Every few minutes, Taylor would take a piece of pepperoni from his slice with her feet tucked beneath his legs. He pretended to be annoyed, but he never stopped her. Before he discovered it with Taylor, Travis had never imagined that he would want this kind of domestic bliss. No cameras, no public appearances, no meticulous image control. It was just two lovers eating pizza and making awful jokes about the movie they were watching. Travis pointed at the TV with his wine glass and said, "I'm telling you, that man is far too ideal. When their girlfriend unintentionally destroys their pricey suit, nobody is very understanding. At the very least, real guys would be a little irritated." With a sly smile, Taylor reached for her own wine and said, "Are you saying you'd be annoyed if I accidentally spilled something on your clothes?" "I'm saying I'd probably tease you about it for at least a week before I let it go," Travis said candidly in response. "But I'd also probably think it was cute because everything you do is cute, even when you're being clumsy." Taylor was about to respond with some witty comeback when her phone, which had been sitting silently on the coffee table all evening, suddenly lit up with a notification sound that made them both glance over. "Just ignore it," Taylor said, settling back into Travis's side. "Whatever it is can wait until tomorrow." Taylor sighed and reached for her phone, saying, "Probably just my publicist freaking out about some tabloid story that doesn't matter." But as she read the notifications on her screen, her whole expression changed. Travis noticed the change right away. "Everything okay?" Taylor stared at her phone for a long moment, her face cycling through surprise, confusion, and something that looked almost like embarrassment. She started, then stopped, clearly unsure how to explain what she was seeing. "It's Joe." Travis felt something tighten in his chest. He knew who Joe was, of course. Joe Alwyn, Taylor's ex-boyfriend, the British actor she dated for 6 years before their relationship ended quietly in April 2023. Taylor had mentioned him in passing a few times, always briefly and without much detail, and Travis had never pressed for more information, because he figured everyone deserved to keep some parts of their past private. But the way Taylor was staring at her phone right now suggested this wasn't just a casual, friendly message. "Joe Alwyn?" Travis asked, trying to keep his voice neutral despite the sudden spike of protective instinct he felt. "Yeah, he sent me a message. Actually, several messages." Taylor looked up at Travis with an expression that was part confusion, part frustration. "I haven't heard from him since we broke up. Not since she trailed off, but Travis understood. Not since she'd started dating him." "What does he want?" Travis asked, and he was proud of himself for managing to sound curious rather than possessive. Glancing back at her phone, Taylor scrolled through what seemed to be a lengthy message. Her mouth formed a harsh line that Travis hardly ever saw, and her eyebrows furrowed as she read. "Taylor," he asked softly, "what's wrong?" Taylor started, then stopped again. She looked at Travis with an expression that seemed to be asking permission for something. "Do you want to know what he said, or would you rather not get into this whole thing?" Travis considered that for a moment. Part of him definitely didn't want to know what Taylor's ex-boyfriend was texting her about. But a bigger part of him, the part that was committed to building a relationship based on honesty and trust, knew that avoiding difficult conversations wasn't going to help them in the long run. "I want to know," he said. "If it's bothering you, then it's something we should talk about." Taylor took a deep breath and handed him her phone. "Just try to remember that I didn't ask for this, okay? And I have no idea why he's reaching out now." Travis took the phone and began reading what was indeed a series of messages from Joe Alwyn. What he saw made his blood pressure spike immediately. The first message was time-stamped just 20 minutes earlier. "Taylor, I hope you're well. I've been seeing the photos and articles about you and the American football player, and I wanted to reach out Because I'm concerned about you." Travis felt his jaw clenched, but he kept reading. "I know we haven't spoken in a while, and I respect that you've moved on. But I can't help feeling like this relationship you're in now is very different from what we had. The constant public appearances, the media circus, the way he parades you around at his games, it all seems very performative, and unlike the person I knew you to be." Travis's grip on the phone tightened, but there was more. "I'm worried that you're caught up in the excitement of dating someone so publicly enthusiastic about being with you, but that you might be mistaking intensity for genuine connection. 6 years taught me how much you value privacy and authenticity, and this all seems so manufactured for the cameras. Are you kidding me?" Travis said out loud, his voice louder than he'd intended. Taylor winced. "There's more." Travis kept reading, his anger building with each word. "I don't want to overstep, and I'm not trying to interfere with your happiness. But I care about you too much to watch you get swept up in what looks like a celebrity show-once. The Travis I've read about doesn't seem like someone who could understand the depth and complexity that you need in a partner. He seems nice enough, but love isn't just about grand gestures and public declarations. Real love is quieter, more private, more substantial than what I'm seeing in the headlines." "This guy is unbelievable," Travis muttered. But he forced himself to finish reading. "I just want you to be careful. I want you to be sure that your feelings are genuine, and not just a result of being with someone who is eager to flaunt you. Instead of someone who adores the prospect of being Taylor Swift's boyfriend, you need someone who loves you for who you are when no one is around. Even if it's not me, you know that I will always be concerned about you and want the best for you. Joe, I hope you're truly pleased, but I also hope you're being honest with yourself about the true nature of this." After finishing his reading, Travis used more force than was strictly necessary to put the phone down. Before speaking, he sat in silence for a while, attempting to arrange his thoughts and comprehend what he had just read. At last, he turned to face Taylor and said, "Is this guy insane?" "Absolutely insane, Travis. No, seriously. Is he completely out of his mind?" Travis said as he got to his feet and began to pace their living room, his protective instincts kicking in. "It has been 7 months since he and you broke up. Has not communicated with you since April, and now he chooses to send you a direct message informing you that your boyfriend, the real one you live with, is merely exploiting you for publicity." "I know it's presumptuous and inappropriate," Taylor said, watching him pace while her own feelings were obviously mixed. "It's, delusional, Taylor. It's presumptuous." Travis ran his hands through his hair, trying to calm down but failing. "He's basically telling you that you're too stupid to know the difference between real love and a publicity stunt. He's telling you that I'm just some dumb jock who's excited to show off his famous girlfriend. I know that's not true. And what's this CD about real love is quieter?" Travis continued, his voice getting louder. "Like there's only one right way to love someone. Like because I'm proud to be with you and I don't hide our relationship, that somehow makes it fake." Travis stopped pacing and looked directly at Taylor. "Did he ever take you to his movie premieres?" "What? Did Joe Alwyn ever take you as his date to his movie premieres? Did he ever post a photo with you? Did he ever talk about you in interviews?" Taylor was quiet for a moment. That was different. He valued privacy. "That's not what I asked. Did he ever in 6 years publicly acknowledge that you were together?" "Travis, you don't understand. The British press is different and his career." "Taylor." Travis sat back down next to her and took her hands. "I'm not trying to trash your past relationship. I'm trying to understand why this guy thinks he has any right to tell you how love should look when he spent 6 years hiding you." Taylor stared down at their joined hands for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was very quiet. "You want to know why Joe and I really broke up? Only if you want to tell me." Taylor took a deep breath. "We broke up because after 6 years together, we still felt like we were dating, not like we were building a life together, like we were just seeing what happened." Travis waited for her to continue. "In 6 years, Travis, we never talked about getting married. We never talked about having kids. We never even talked about moving in together permanently. I had my places. He had his places, and sometimes we'd stay at each other's apartments for a few weeks at a time. Why not? Because Taylor struggled to find the words. Because we were both so careful not to rock the boat that we never actually sailed anywhere. We were both so afraid of wanting too much or pushing too hard that we never pushed at all. Travis was beginning to understand, but he let her keep talking. I spent 6 years being the version of myself that was easiest for him to love. I was quiet about my feelings, private about our relationship, careful not to ask for too much or expect too much. I convinced myself that was mature. That was what real love looked like. Never needing anything, never wanting anything more than what we had in the moment. And how did that feel? Lonely, Taylor said simply. I felt lonely even when I was with him because I never felt like he really saw me. All of me. I felt like he loved this carefully curated version of me that never made waves or created complications. Travis squeezed her hands. And that's why you're angry about this message. I'm angry because he's telling me that what we have isn't real, when what he and I had barely felt real most of the time. Taylor's voice was getting stronger now. I'm angry because he's suggesting that you don't really know me, when you know me better than he ever did. What do you mean, Travis? You've seen me have panic attacks. You've seen me ugly cry over bad reviews. You've seen me eat ice cream for breakfast and wear the same sweatshirt for 3 days straight when I'm writing. You've seen me be petty and jealous and insecure and completely irrational. Travis smiled. I have seen all of those things, and you love me anyway. Not despite those things, but including those things. Taylor looked up at him with eyes that were bright with tears. Joe loved the idea of me, the fantasy version that never asked for anything and never caused any drama. You love the actual mess and all. I love the mess especially, Travis said softly. And this message, it's like he's saying that because you're not afraid to be seen with me, because you're proud to be with me, because you actually want to integrate me into your life instead of keeping me in a separate compartment. That somehow makes it less real, which is completely backwards, Travis said. Completely backwards, Taylor agreed. With Joe, I felt like I was always auditioning to be worth loving. With you, I feel like I already am. Travis pulled her into his arms and she buried her face in his chest. I'm sorry he upset you, he said into her hair. I'm not upset. Taylor muttered against his shirt. I'm actually kind of grateful, she said. Grateful? Because it reminded me how different this is, how different you are. She turned to face him. Travis, did you know that in 6 years, Joe never once asked me what I wanted for our future? Never, never. You asked me that on our 3rd date. Travis recalled the exchange. He had asked her directly what she was seeking in a relationship as they were strolling around New York after dinner. Before he fell even more in love with her, he had wanted to make sure they were on the same page. What is the most terrifying aspect of his message, do you know? Taylor went on. What? I questioned whether he was correct for roughly 30 seconds after reading it. I questioned whether I could have mistaken the thrill of being with someone who genuinely wanted to be with me in public for love. Travis felt a chill, and then I realized that you didn't fall in love with Taylor Swift, the brand. Instead, you fell in love with Taylor Jane, who makes you watch the same 3 movies repeatedly because they make her feel safe, burns every dinner she tries to make, and sobs at dog adoption commercials. Yes, I adore Taylor Jane, Travis attested to it. The prospect of dating a well-known musician captured Joe's heart. You fell in love with a well-known musician. The difference is enormous. For a while, Travis was silent as he took in all she had said. His voice was composed yet resolute when he spoke once more. I have something to say, Taylor, and please, I truly need you to hear me. I will never keep you hidden. I will never feel ashamed of my love for you. I promise never to make you feel like you're too much or that you must shrink in order to be in my life. He held her face in his palms. Being your boyfriend makes me proud. When people see us together, it makes me proud. It's the nicest thing that has ever happened to me, and I want everyone to know that you picked me. Tears welled up in Taylor's eyes once more. Your ex-boyfriend obviously never knew what it meant to truly love you in the first place, if that makes our relationship appear staged to him. I love you just as much in private as I do in public, Travis. Since I get to see all the aspects of you that are exclusively mine, I think I love you more in private. At that moment, Taylor gave him a passionate, intense kiss out of appreciation for this man, who had never once made her feel as though she had to answer for her identity. Travis picked up her phone and returned it to her when they parted ways. He said, "What do you want to do about this?" After giving the phone a quick glance, Taylor unlocked her messages and started composing a reply. Travis questioned, "What are you saying?" "I'm telling him thank you. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me how lucky I am to be with someone who loves me enough to want the world to know about it. Thank you for showing me the difference between someone who's afraid to claim me and someone who's proud to choose me. And thank you for confirming that I made the right decision when I chose to build a life with someone who sees me as a partner, not a secret." She hit send and then turned her phone face down on the coffee table. And now Travis asked, "Now we finish our terrible movie and forget that Joe exists. Because I'm exactly where I want to be, with exactly who I want to be with. And I'm not going to let someone from my past make me question my present," Taylor remarked as she reclined in his arms. "If loving you the way I love you makes me a dumb American football player who doesn't understand depth and complexity, then I'll happily be that guy for the rest of my life," Travis remarked as the opening credits rolled once more. "Good," Taylor said, stealing another piece of his pizza, "because I happen to love that dumb American football player exactly the way he is." But what happened the next morning would show them both just how much that message had affected them, even though they thought they'd moved past it. Travis woke up around 7 a.m. to find Taylor's side of the bed empty. This was unusual. Taylor was definitely not a morning person, and she rarely got up before 9 a.m., unless she had somewhere important to be. He found her in the kitchen sitting at the island with a cup of coffee, staring out the window with a distant expression. "Morning, beautiful," he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind and kissing the top of her head. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep?" Taylor muttered, reclining in his arms but not quite unwinding as she usually did. "Are you still thinking about last night?" Taylor was quiet for a long moment before nodding. "I keep thinking about something he said about how I value privacy and authenticity, and how our relationship seems manufactured." Travis felt his protective instincts flare again, but he forced himself to stay calm. "And I started wondering if maybe I have been performing a little bit, not for you, but for everyone else. Maybe I have been playing up the public parts of our relationship, because it felt so good to finally be with someone who wasn't ashamed of me." Travis rotated her seat so that he could see her expression. Reluctantly, she met his gaze and said, "Taylor, look at me. Do you remember our first date? The real first date, not the one the magazines wrote about. Of course, we spent 4 hours in that tiny dive bar in Nashville, talking about everything except our careers. We talked about your childhood cat, and my fear of spiders and whether aliens exist. You told me about the weird dreams you'd been having, and I told you about how I used to collect bottle caps when I was 8. Taylor smiled slightly at the memory. "Was that manufactured? Was that performing? No. What about last Tuesday when you had food poisoning and I brought you soup, and we watched documentaries about serial killers for 6 hours while you napped on my chest? No, that was real. What about when we fought about the thermostat setting and you passive-aggressively adjusted it every time I left the room until I finally confronted you about it?" Taylor laughed despite herself. "That was definitely real and annoying. Every moment we have together when nobody else is around, that's real. The fact that we also choose to share some of our happiness with the world doesn't make the private moments any less authentic." Taylor nodded, but Travis could tell she was still processing. "You want to know what I think?" he continued. "What? I think Joe's message got to you because there's a part of you that's still afraid this is too good to be true. There's a part of you that's waiting for me to decide you're too much work, or too complicated, or too public." Taylor's eyes filled with tears because he was absolutely right. "But I need you to understand something," Travis said, taking her face in his hands. "I didn't accidentally fall in love with Taylor Swift. I chose to fall in love with Taylor Swift knowing exactly who you are, knowing exactly what your life looks like, knowing exactly what I was signing up for. And I choose it again every single day, even when it's complicated, especially when it's complicated, because loving you, really loving you, all of you, is the best thing I've ever done with my life." They stood there in their kitchen, holding each other as the morning sun streamed through the windows, both of them understanding that Joe's message had actually been a gift, not because it was true, but because it had forced them to articulate their own truth more clearly than ever before. "You know what's funny?" Taylor said, pulling back to look at him. "What Joe was right about one thing. This relationship is very different from what we had. How? With Joe, I was always trying to be the perfect girlfriend who never needed anything. With you, I can be the real girlfriend who needs everything and knows she's going to get it. Travis smiled and kissed her forehead. That's the only kind of girlfriend I want, even if it means dealing with crazy ex-boyfriends who send unsolicited relationship advice. Especially then, because it means you trust me enough to let me deal with the crazy with you. Taylor laughed and pulled him closer. I love you, Travis Kelce. All of you. Even the protective, slightly possessive part that wanted to text Joe back and tell him to mind his own business. I may have drafted that text, Travis admitted. What did it say? Something along the lines of, thanks for the concern, but she's exactly where she wants to be, and you're exactly where you belong in the past. Savage, I deleted it though. Figured you could handle your own ex-boyfriend. I could, but I like knowing you would handle him for me if I asked you to. Always, Travis said firmly. I will always fight for you. Fight for us. Fight for this. Even when the fight is against someone who's supposed to be in your past. And in that moment, as the November sun filled their Kansas City kitchen, and they held each other close, both Taylor and Travis understood something important. Joe's message hadn't threatened their relationship. It had shown them how unshakable their foundation really was. Because when someone from your past tries to make you doubt your present, and you come through it more certain than ever that you're exactly where you belong, that's when you know you found something real. That's when you know you found something worth keeping. What do you think about Joe's message and how Travis and Taylor handled it? Have you ever had an ex try to interfere with your new relationship? And here's what I'm curious about. Do you believe there's only one right way to love someone? Or can love look different for different couples? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.